In 1999, BMW won the 24 Hours of Le Mans. How did they do it? Well, they finished in first. Obviously, I'm joking. There's a lot more to the story, so let's get right into it. The latter half of the 1990s was an exciting time for BMW in endurance racing. In 1995, the BMW-powered McLaren F1 GTR secured an outright win at Le Mans. This victory was a clear testament to the capability of the BMW S70-2 V12 engine. Of course, as any engine manufacturer would, BMW took note. In the following years, BMW began to take more of an interest in sports car racing, looking to repeat their success. To begin their quest for another win at Le Mans, BMW and Schnitzer Motorsport ran a team in 1997 using the McLaren F1 GTR Longtail. They achieved moderate success by finishing in third, but as good as the car was, it was clear the McLaren's days were numbered. With companies like Porsche, Toyota, and Mercedes-Benz fielding more competitive GT cars, the McLaren F1 didn't seem to stand up to the challenge anymore. But the challenge was something BMW wanted. BMW figured their S70 V12 engine had more to give in endurance racing. Therefore, they decided to move on from the McLaren F1 and GT cars altogether and take on the challenge themselves. The plan was to build an entirely new Le Mans prototype around their winning V12 engine with one simple goal: come out of Le Mans with another outright win. But as you may assume, that's easier said than done. And to complicate things, BMW was set to enter Formula One with Williams in the year 2000, realistically only leaving 2 years to get the job done. BMW had proven they could build a race-winning engine, but designing a prototype Le Mans race car was not their forte. And unlike from a few years prior, they couldn't partner with McLaren because McLaren had already teamed up with Mercedes-Benz to build the CLK GTR, which originally used the McLaren F1 GTR's chassis. However, amid their soon-to-be relationship with Williams, BMW saw an opportunity. Instead of building the car entirely by themselves, they enlisted their new Formula One partners to help with the design. Williams F1 honored the request, and under the leadership of technical director Patrick Head, engineer John Russell, and aerodynamicist Jason Somerville, the design of the new prototype was underway. Dubbed the BMW V12 LM, Williams created a relatively straightforward race car around BMW's S70 V12 engine. The design featured a carbon fiber and aluminum honeycomb monocoque chassis. It also had double wishbone front and rear suspension with pushrod actuated coil springs and dampers. The engine was already in its third iteration and was called the S70-3. Weighing only 145 kilograms, the engine displaced a little under 6 liters and featured dual overhead camshafts that actuated 4 valves per cylinder. Design-wise, the V12 LM had a small set of kidney grills up front, arguably the most exciting feature. Apart from that, the car looked pretty standard, or as standard as you can get for an LMP car. Some of the more pioneering features were the usage of a raised footbox and front diffuser to make the car safer and more aerodynamic. The car first debuted at the 1998 24 Hours of Le Mans, leaving BMW with limited time to identify and correct any design flaws before the race. Once again, Schnitzer Motorsport was responsible for running the cars during the event. Although, disappointingly, the V12 LM's performance was underwhelming in both testing and qualifying. The cars qualified 6th and 12th on the grid, even behind theoretically slower GT cars, and the race was even worse. Much to BMW's dismay, both cars had to be retired early because of wheel bearing failures. To be honest, the race was a complete failure, but BMW's effort was not. With one more year remaining, BMW and Williams abandoned the V12 LMs to field a more competitive car, and luckily they were quick learners. The following year, BMW and Williams went back to the drawing board for something completely new, and they adopted a new design philosophy along with it. The goal for the new car, named the V12 LMR, sought to fix the issues of the V12 LM. Therefore, the LMR only retained a few mechanical components in the chassis from the old car. This amounted to a mere 68 of the roughly 3,500 components from the V12 LM. Despite keeping the chassis, the new prototype looked completely different because of the all-new aerodynamics and body panels that were created. Additionally, BMW decided to be a bit more creative regarding the regulations. They realized they had to be pioneering if they were going to win it, and thankfully for them, they were. The new car had a single-seater style roll hoop instead of the double roll hoop on the V12 LM, giving it a sidecar look. BMW were able to do this because of a loophole in the ACO's regulations that was allegedly spotted in April of 1998. However, because the time constraints didn't permit a redesign for the V12 LM, it wasn't implemented until 1999. While this roll hoop change only reduced the drag force by a few pounds, it allowed significantly more air to flow over the rear wing, which gave the car more downforce. The car also revised its raised footbox to squeeze in the driver. The V12 LMR was powered by the same S70-3 V12 engine as its predecessor, but with slightly more power. The LMR produced 590 brake horsepower and 678 Nm of torque, delivered through the same 6-speed sequential manual gearbox. A significant change in the new car was the engine's cooling system. Instead of the two cold air intakes used in the V12 LM, the LMR had a single cold air intake. This redesign aimed to address the poorly designed cooling system of the V12 LM, which was one of its most critical flaws. On the LM, the cooling system had ducts feeding the radiators from underneath the car, making it prone to overheating as it drew in already hot ambient air from the track. To fix this problem on the V12 LMR, BMW mounted the radiators in the side pods. To make sure they had sufficient airflow, the front end of the car was designed with lower fenders, allowing cooler air to enter the intakes. In the end, the car weighed far less than the 900 kilogram weight minimum, allowing them to strategically place ballast to improve the handling. Of course, it's one thing to make improvements on paper, but you don't actually know of their effectiveness until you actually race the car. Well, not to spoil anything, but BMW's design efforts were going to pay off. BMW decided to be more proactive this time around and debuted the cars at the 1999 12 Hours of Sebring. Here, the V12 LMR qualified first and third and scored BMW's first outright win. However, the 1999 24 Hours of Le Mans was fiercely competitive, with powerhouses like Nissan, Mercedes, Toyota, and Audi also joining the race. But BMW had a reason to be confident. The V12 LMR was considerably faster and more reliable than the V12 LM. At Le Mans, the cars qualified third and sixth, with the faster lap time being roughly 3 minutes and 31 seconds. While the BMWs weren't the fastest around the track, they were reliable and fuel efficient, allowing them to gain an extra lap from each tank. This advantage helped them gain time back during pit stops or run with a lighter fuel load. As the race started, Toyota and Mercedes battled it out, with the BMWs closely behind. Eventually, the number 17 BMW worked its way into the lead, followed by the number 2 Toyota and the number 5 Mercedes fighting for second place. Of course, it wouldn't be a good story without some drama. Most notably, Peter Dumbreck's number 5 Mercedes crashed spectacularly due to an aerodynamic flaw, but fortunately he was unharmed. In response, Mercedes also retired the number 6 car, leaving them out of the competition. However, it wasn't just Mercedes that had problems. After that accident, Martin Brundle's number 1 Toyota suffered suspension damage caused by a puncture. This left the number 17 BMW fighting the number 3 Toyota for first place, while the number 15 BMW battled the number 2 Toyota for second. More chaos ensued at 2 a.m. when Thierry Boutsen's number 2 Toyota collided with a slower car near the Dunlop Bridge, causing a terrible crash. Fortunately, Boutsen survived, but he did suffer a serious lower back injury that ended his racing career. By morning, the 2 BMWs were in the lead, with the number 17 car 4 laps ahead of its sister car. However, even BMW weren't without their problems. At 10 a.m., JJ Leto in the leading BMW found himself in a bad situation when a broken anti-roll bar jammed the throttle, causing him to crash in the Porsche curves. Sadly, that incident likely caused the number 17 car the victory, and now BMW had a reason to be nervous. Now, BMW only had the number 15 car left, just 1 lap ahead of the last remaining Toyota. With the Toyota being faster, they knew it was possible to catch the BMW before the end of the race. Therefore, driver Ukyo Katayama and the number 3 Toyota pushed hard and set the fastest lap of the race at 3 minutes and 35 seconds. And by 3 p.m., an hour before the finish, Toyota had closed the gap to under a minute. However, exhausted drivers and stressed tires didn't work in Toyota's favor. Katayama's Toyota unfortunately hit a curb after being impeded by a slower car, causing a left rear tire blowout. Although he made it to the pits for repairs, the BMW was now out of reach. In the end, the number 15 BMW, driven by Joachim Winkelhock, Pierluigi Martini, and Yannick Dalmas, finished the race in first, securing BMW's first and only outright win at Le Mans as a constructor to date. With a race full of drama, crashes, and mechanical struggles, the Bavarian marque prevailed. The V12 LMR project proved to be a success, and under an impressive set of circumstances in an ultra-competitive field, BMW entered the history books and emerged victorious. In the end, many factors contributed to BMW's success. To begin, the expertise at Schnitzer Motorsport deserves a lot of credit for the win. The V12 LMR struck a perfect balance between its drivability, reliability, fuel efficiency, and pace. Charlie Lamb, the Schnitzer team boss, even stated, "The car's consistency and reliability were so high, you could run a 48-hour race." After all, in order to finish first, you first need to finish. Lastly, you can't deny that BMW had a little bit of luck on their side to help them secure the victory. After Le Mans, the V12 LMR had limited success. It won a couple more races, but BMW eventually retired the car in 2000 due to stronger competition and their focus on Formula One. Although its racing lifetime was brief, the legacy of the V12 LMR is truly impressive. This year, BMW entered their M Hybrid V8 at Le Mans, their first prototype since 1999, but unfortunately neither of the cars finished the race. If history has taught us anything, it's that we shouldn't be surprised if we see BMW on the top of the podium next year. Maybe they need to look back at their history and take some notes. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. And if you want to see more content like this, you could consider subscribing. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.